guys, so the video you just saw is our ditch. Now, I think I've brought this up in previous videos, but just if you're new here, I'll recap it real quick. We originally had drain pipes that went down to where the front yard completely went flat out to the main road, which was covered in grass. Unfortunately, one of the pipes had broke and we thought it was on the city's part, so we called them, had them come out and look at it. Come to find out, the previous owner of our house did not pull a permit to have the pipe put in, so they took it out, and put in this lovely ditch and then planted a bunch of grass in it. Now, normally that would be fine if we were on a side road. We're on a main road and one of the heaviest trafficked main roads through our city. So we decided to take it upon ourselves to go through and kill out that grass. And the plan was to maybe just do some rocks in there. We called the city, and unfortunately we weren't allowed to do rocks because if they ever had to recarve the area to allow more drainage, we would lose rock. In my opinion, if we're losing out on money of something we did to make it look better, it's okay, it's rocks. We can put more rocks in. So we came to the conclusion that we will just go ahead and plant it up and do something pretty to make less wear and tear on us. So what you're seeing now is I ended up scoring a bunch of plants on clearance, and that was probably in our previous video. I did end up getting more. I didn't talk about it here, but I talked about it on my Instagram, which I'd be happy if you go over there and give me a follow on there and check out. I do a lot more stuff like up to date there. So I ended up laying out all of the containers into a naturalistic style. I wanted it to just be somewhat a little wild, but manicured enough so it was visually pleasing to passerbys and, just so it blended in with the rest of the garden. Once I did that, I broke out the auger, obviously, and just started going in. Now, I will say one tip for this is to go ahead and just drill in, as if the plant was being planted in straight ground. Don't try to angle or anything like that. You're gonna harm yourself possibly with the auger, or when the soil slips back down, it's gonna end up covering up the root, the crown of the plant. So best bet, just lay it flat for now. It might look a little stupid if you have tall grasses or plants that jet out. Come spring, they're going to come back and they're going to point themselves in the correct direction. This will make it so much easier on you. I'm not worried about it right now because I am going to do some tidying up at the end of the season. Here in November, we're the first week of November, and we still have things that are just very much green. As you can see, I'm just kind of going through and getting this planted, and we will talk about some of the plants that are being planted now. So the plan was to keep everything relatively short, no more than 4 foot, because we have a conjoining side road that we wanted to make sure that they could see down the road so that there was no traffic incidents. And then also coming out of our driveway, we didn't want to be struggling to see over any plants or around any plants. And I wanted to keep it as little maintenance as possible, other than maybe just a spring cleanup and then maybe a bit of weeding, which is inevitable. We will have to do that. So some of the plants are little gold star Rebecca. This is going to get 14 to 16 inches tall and wide, and it's hardy down to zone 4. And I kept those in masses as well. We're also planting in strawberry seduction yarrow, which will get about 25 to 30 inches in bloom, and it'll get that wide in foliage. So zone 4. Ronica blue speedwell. I planted these in the lower sections of the ditch because they do require a little bit more moisture and they can handle a little bit of inundation if needed. These are hardy down to zone 4 and get about 12 to 18 inches in bloom and 12 to 18 inches wide. A lot of sedums went in here on the higher end because of drought tolerance, and I went in with Rock and Grow Coral Jade. This one is hardy down to zone 3, and it is a medium height of 16 to 18 inches and will get about 30 inches at its max. Tucked in a couple Montauk daisies. I did pick up 2 more, so there's 2 in there. I have a 3rd one I do want to move down there maybe this spring, we'll see. These are hardy down to zone 5, get about 36 inches in height in bloom and 24 inches wide, but you can maintain these down a little bit shorter and get more density out of them, which is probably my preferred method. Also have Apex Blue Salvia, hardy down to zone 4, gets 12 inches high, 14 inches wide. So I planted these relatively close and in larger masses so that you really get that blue effect. So when these are about done blooming, the Veronica will come into bloom, and then these will by then be picking up their 2nd round of blooms at that time and keep going through the season. As far as grasses, I'm using Prairie Winds brushstrokes. I scored a bunch more of those, and we've talked about them before. So 36 inches in height and about 26 inches wide. So they will not be at that height for most of the season until we get later in the season. And I just think that I love that wispiness, and it reminds me of seeing them on the hills as you're driving through back roads and such. And in prairies, it's just a really beautiful thing, and it'll give us some good fall color. I only planted 1 Jade Parade sand cherry. Now I had plans for doing more of these, but they do get about 6 foot wide at their maturity. These only get 2 to 3 foot. I've noticed that the deer have really nibbled on this one quite a bit, so I'm not sure that it's a really good option for me up there, even though it is on the ditch section now where it's more inclined. Only time will tell. I'm going to give it a try. If all goes well, I want to put 1 more on the opposite side of the ditch. So I went in with Cobalt and Gold Hiberica. Now this is a blue foliage Hiberica, very fine textured and blooms yellow flowers pretty much all summer into fall. And I just really love this idea of having these. Now these are going to get about 2 to 3 foot tall and about 4 to 5 foot wide. These are hardy down to zone 4. A great nativar for us here, so I know they can be inundated with water at times. They can handle drought once established. They're really a good all-around plant right there. Also tucked in 3 Little Goblin Red. Now I have a Little Goblin Guy up there, and I planted those about 3 years ago on clearance, and I actually picked up these 3 last year at the end of the year. Proven Winners unfortunately does not carry this Winterberry anymore. It is a shorter variety, only getting about 3 to 5 foot tall and wide, and it's hardy down to 3. There are new ones on the market though through them that are smaller, so if you're looking for one, those will be good. But since I have the male pollinator, we should have some really nice red berries throughout the season, and not through the season, but to carry us through winter, and then the birds will be able to pick these off and enjoy them. One of the last plants that I planted, which is going to be a gamble in sorts to see if they can handle being planted this late, and I think they're going to be fine considering our weather right now, but also being a little more out by the road could potentially have some salt issues. I'm not sure. Crepe myrtles are really still new to me even after 2 to 3 years, and I have only used them in my backyard. But I ended up with the Bellini series from Star Roses and Plants. I did not realize until after I was gathering the tags that I had 2 different color varieties. One is strawberry and one is raspberry. So we're going to be pleasantly surprised when they bloom. I think they're going to be relatively close in color to not be that much of a difference, but just a fun little note that I came across as I was doing it. The last thing I did was I did go in and soak these with a sprinkler. I had the sprinkler shooting from the road to the beds, and I divided it in half, and I had it going for about, let's say about 45 minutes. Because of the incline, I made sure that it was moving slow. I made sure it was a finer mist so that it didn't roll too much of the dirt down the hill, and which still can be a problem until the plants are established. We're going to be fighting some of the erosion, which is another issue. But that quick soaking really revitalized a lot of things, and I'm hoping that it'll get them established to be able to go through the winter and come up perfectly fine next year without any extra irrigation. Now you might be wondering what we're going to do on the road side of that. My plan right now is I want to do a lawn substitute. I want something that's grassy. I want something that's low maintenance. And there's two plants that come to mind. One is Carex Blue Zinger. Now that is a full sun area and that plant can move fast, which is good for me. But the other problem is it's very blue in sun. So it would read a bit cold in my opinion, and that density, that is about a 40-foot long area, and I feel like that could be just a bit much blue. The other plant, which I've been really happy with and I've been trying out for the last 2 years now, is Carex Woody Eye. Now this is a taller substitute. Mount Cuba did a Carex trial and it ranked #1 on their list. There's not a lot of people growing it right now. I do have 2 sources that I can pull it from. Unfortunately, one of them is wholesale and the other one I would have to drive to. And I'm not driving 7 hours to pick up a flat or 2 of plants. That's just not happening. But I did acquire my first 3 plants from Roy Diblick when we went up to Northland Perennials 2 years ago. He sent me home with 3 of them to try out. And I have been absolutely impressed with how quick moving that plant is. So those are my 2 options. I could also do a mix of them to create some interest, maybe like a wave effect or just a scattering, and whoever wins, wins. But I really think I just want to stick with one variety, and I'm leaning really towards the Carex Woody Eye. I think that would just be really, really beautiful. It moves just as quick, and especially with some extra moisture getting it through the first season or 2, I could potentially just have that whole area covered, and then it can creep across, it can creep over onto the other side and intermingle and fill in those other spaces as needed. All in all, I really think this project came out really great. This is going to save a lot of time. It's a maybe twice a year I'll go down there and keep out weeds and stuff by hand. I don't want to do any spraying. I don't want to do any granulars. I'm going to go down there and hand pull. We still do need to get it really mulched in, and I'm going in with leaf mulch. One, because it compacts on itself pretty easily. It suppresses weeds far better, in my opinion, than our regular mulch. So that will be the next step as we're doing leaf cleanup. We have a lot to do here, so a lot of our backyard leaves are going to end up going out to that area and hopefully help suppress. We've collected a lot and we have a big pile, so that's within the next couple days I'm going to get it done. There is going to be some holes in the area that I have for seedlings, such as dianthus, native dianthus varieties, and other things like that I would like to add in just for a little bit of interest and little pops of color and such. I do not want annuals out there unless they're a receding type, and I fully expect to have Verbena bonariensis popping up and possibly tassel flowers popping up come next year. Tassels I'm not so worried about. The Verbena bonariensis is just going to be too much down there, so we will be weeding that one out. I hope this inspires you to transform useless spaces and ugly spaces into something more beautiful, more nature friendly. This is going to be exciting to see how it comes up next year and the bloom times. I think I got a really good mix, and I can't believe, for all these being at the end of the season on clearance, the great amount of variation I'm going to have in that area. I got really, really lucky. And if you still have time to plant, and if you're still finding deals, take this opportunity to grab those type of stuff and think about the future of what you can plant. All right, guys, I will see you in the next video. I hope you've enjoyed this one, and don't forget to hit subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.